Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Prepping for Gamers. As you can see from the title, we're going to talk about a hypothetical alien invasion and what, if anything, you can do. Let's assume the aliens have come into orbit. They've nuked our cities, or maybe not nuked them, but they've devastated the cities. They've knocked out the power grid, and most of humanity's either been slaughtered or rounded up for prisoners for whatever their nefarious purposes. Because I honestly believe we are the rarest commodity in the universe. Life seems to be the thing that is the most scarce. What they do with it, that's up to your own imagination. I want to welcome my good friend Bo from Bo Paints Minis into the show today. I see Crafting Gamer and Hungar the Starvarian are out there in TV land. What's up, guys? How you guys doing this morning?
It's cool. Glad that those guys are in the are in the chat. I appreciate that.
So how you doing, man?
Well, I was thinking a lot about your scenario last night, and I'm glad that you kind of set some more of the framework, because I was thinking of all of the alien invasion TV shows that I ever seen in my life, from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to V, to things like District 9. And I was thinking, how would an alien invasion, what would it even look like? Would it be like infiltration, like sort of like a Men in Black type thing, or They Live, or would it be more covert, like Independence Day, where the first thing they do is come down and blow up the White House? And when you think about things like that, it sets up a lot of different scenarios. And I think that if you're in one where you're already living in like a desolation situation, I can't help to think it would be a lot like Mad Max. You're just like living out in the hinterland someplace. If there's no cities, then there's no resources. If there's no resources, then life becomes real bleak in a hurry. But I think that you can probably address a lot of these scenarios within the realm of reason and practicality. And I think that there are a lot of similarities in how you would set yourself up. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing now. But I mean, where would you start? I mean, assuming you're at a basic level of preparedness, what would you wish that you had if there was an alien invasion? Do you want like a 4-wheel drive truck with a camper on top so you can just drive? You want something like mountain bikes with panniers and a trailer, a little tow trailer on your mountain bike so you can just take off cross country?
Well, right off the bat, I think an alien invasion would be more like First Wave or War of the Worlds, where they would it would be completely covert. They'd come down looking like us. But if that's the case, then they're just going to take over the power structures with the lizard people. And, there'd be very little we could do about it until it was too late. Through legislation and our own stupidity, we would just succumb to them. But for the sake of fun and whatnot, I wanted to go with a little bit more violent, brutal, warlike situation. Welcome to the show, Raven. How you doing this morning? Brian, what's happening?
I think that the big problem is it's the same problem if you're preparing for something like like a blackout or a winter storm or a forest fire. You've got to make sure that all your necessities are taken care of. If you've got anybody in your family who's on heart medication or is diabetic or something, you better make sure you've got a good supply of medication laid up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And eventually, that the problem I have with a lot of these scenarios is I'm not in any position where I can leave. I mean, you've got to be prepared to leave, but if that's the case, you've got to have some place that you're going to go to where there aren't going to be other people. Where would you go? what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what a farm?
Yeah, I was thinking mostly of the survivors needing to because like I said, life being the most precious of commodities, I don't think they would burn down the forests and things like that. They're going to need those. They're farms. They might take out the house with a directed energy weapon, but leave the crops. At some point they probably round us up and put us back to work. Unless they just are going to take what's here, eat us, and then move on to the next planet, which I think would
Right.
be ridiculous.
Right. Big difference
But
between like Tyranids and like Stargate.
right, right. Otherwise, every other ingredient, every other mineral and what have you, could be found out in you know anywhere in space. Asteroids and planetoids and the other planets. If you need specific minerals, they're out there. But the one thing we have that none of the other ones have that we know of is living critters. Whether they be rabbits and squirrels to us humans and polar bears and sharks and whales and stuff like that. That I would see them probably wanting to like transplant us against our will to other places to seed more planets more efficiently than we would ever do. Uh, so I would picture most of humanity would be heading to the national parks and places like Canada and things like that, where there's just plenty of places to hide and without just burning down the entire national forests, which would be dumb. uh, they would have to root us out or round up the ones in the cities and things like that and take them off to the wherever the motherships or other worlds or what have you.
Are you envisioning some kind of like World War II era resistance? Like people
Yeah,
living out in the woods, like
absolutely.
like
What
the
was that?
British?
What was that show with the guy from ER who lost his voice or something? He was also in The Librarian. He played, I think, John Carter on ER.
Or
I
watched it.
don't Falling Skies. The whole well, at least the United States was just rubble. Everywhere was just rubble, and pockets of humanity were hiding out in different places. Uh, different alcoves of humanity. You'd have to assume that you know while the power grid would be taken down, it wouldn't be hard to refabricate batteries and things like that. For like you said, motorcycles or CB radios and things like that. But a lot of that stuff would just be a beacon to oh, here's a pocket of humanity. Go send some troops out there to root them out and round them up. I would figured it would be very much a resistance battle. And when I was thinking about this, every alien story um, builds into the aliens a weakness,
Right.
whether it's a social weakness, a physical weakness, whether they can't stand country music. There's always something that will that's the key. And for this, I really hadn't thought much further than that, other than they got to have one. Even if it's just the fact that you can kill them with a couple of bullets or an arrow in the right location, something like that. I think that we would have to really get back to the old ways, not just the book, but the practices of old, smoke signals or, Pony Express or things like that, to communicate with one another, to, stay undercover, to stay covert and not, just be like, we're over here, take us to your leader kind of thing, because nobody wants that because, you know, if they're out there, I can't really picture them, having our best interests at heart, or at least it wouldn't be perceived by us that way. They may think, okay, we're gonna spread you out, put you on a whole bunch of different planets, and calm you guys down, stuff like that. But telling us that and doing that to us probably wouldn't go over so well. I don't think it would be like in To Serve Man, where people are just lining up to hop on board the ships. I mean, obviously there would be some of those people that would be like, yeah, sign me up. Close Encounters, yeah, you want to take me on your ship? Yeah, I'm going, not a problem. uh, I think they would. What are you doing, weirdo? Yes, they definitely probably don't like country music, which is one of the reasons we gotta put them down.
Well,
Yeah, of course they like to keep it weird, Brian. But we you know as a whole, as a species, our weirdness only goes so far. There's some things we're probably not going to be comfortable with. Especially being rounded up and told what to do and where to go, and get on the ship and shut up. Here's your your sludge for breakfast, lunch, and dinner till you get to the new location. I think we would really have to. What?
well, the conspiranoid in me would think that a lot of people wouldn't notice a difference. We're already feels like we're already where we're heading.
Well, if the lizard people are out there, they're probably doing their thing and manipulating us and separating us into groups so that we're easier to manage and that sort of thing.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Today, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, the Nephilim come back from planet Nabaru, land in Washington, D.C., come out and say, "We are your gods. Worship us as your gods." How many people are just going to say, "Okay, makes sense. Let's do it"? And how many people can they win over without even firing a shot?
Oh,
there's
billions.
Two ways to do it. Two ways to do it. One, they come down like Independence Day, start nuking cities, massive show of force, or they come down very diplomatic, like at the beginning of the V miniseries, but maybe they have even more technology and they'll put out even a bigger show and say, "Look, we can disintegrate people just by looking at them, and we've got we got the power to travel through hundreds of light years in a minute. That's how we came to be here." How many people would either just surrender immediately or just say, "Yeah, these guys are our gods. This is the God of the Old Testament. Come back to this world." Not to blaspheme, but you see it on things like Ancient Aliens, right? The TV show.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think there would be entire countries that wouldn't even hesitate. But here in the good old USA, where we're we growing big and dumb on the farm planet, I think you'd have a lot of people saying, "Hell no, we won't go," and maybe even trying to retake the current power structure to resist, or everybody's going to move to Texas, right, Brian, and just hold out there until they just say, "Okay, you know what? Oops, something really bad something really bad happened to Texas. It's no longer on the map. It's just a crater, or a grease spot, or burned out flatland." I think there would be people who would resist, especially in the conspiracy theory community. They would be like, "Nope, nope." Exactly, Brian. I definitely wouldn't be joining. They if they know anything about humanity, they would know that our history is full of tales of slave revolts and uprisings and things like that. And they'd probably, if they were smart, they'd take the volunteers and toddle off to wherever the hell they're going and leave the rest of us, which would be actually pretty nice, because then, we could maybe, spread out a little more, and not have to, worry about certain things. Maybe they could leave us, the good package, so we can, fix the kelp, that eats the stuff, that's going wrong with the planet, and come back in 1,000 years. We'll have some more volunteers for you.
As long as they gave you their pen before they left, right?
Right. Well, at least one, maybe not, if not just one, a whole bunch, or maybe like a really big pen, and we just erect it, in somewhere, in DC, and when the time comes, the president pushes the button and it goes up, and okay, we got some more flunkies for you.
So
yeah, that's a really good point, Brian. You also got to think that those who have the most to lose would turn traitor to keep their station in the new order. Yeah. We might see elites try and encourage others to turn for the benefit for all, but really just them. Yeah, I could see the really rich and powerful being like, yeah, nope, I'm going to stay here and lord over as new governor of this place or that place. After all you weirdos have left to go see outer space, they'd want, to keep their power and their lifestyle like that. But, any good aliens with any brains would take those guys out first.
Yeah, I was going to say regarding the folks from Texas, you just have to tell them, one, there's no limit. Two, they go great with beer. And three, they taste like chicken. And those Texans would be out, shooting them left and right.
So there is that. I don't know that I could eat something that's just as smart as me or smarter, unless the pickings were pretty slim.
Excuse me. So yeah, I was wondering, aside from appropriating their technology, and again, just because they've got the ability to cross through a warp space or a wormhole or a Stargate or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean their weapons technology is so much greater than ours, and you wouldn't know until you had to resist. Of course, the first, again, we talked about this. The first part of resistance is actually saying no. No, I will not comply. But you also have to be prepared for the possibility that you will have to, fight and die. And I think that's hard for a lot of people. It's just
damn near impossible for a huge majority. They would literally, bow down and get on the ship and get taken away, to wherever. But for those of us lucky few who do remain here, on Earth, I think it in a lot of cases it would be very, very difficult, beyond what anybody would expect. I mean, nobody really, goes camping for a month to see what it would be like to live with, almost nothing.
No.
We've got those. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show, Curtis and Derek. To try, I've been watching a lot of videos about the old hobos that weren't the bums that we have been led to believe due to the Great Depression. Those people were actually called tramps. Hobos were more traveling, almost akin to the old Irish traveling tinkers. They would come in and look for work and do what they could as long as they could, and store up some money and maybe send it back home or something like that, and continue to travel until they found a place that they could find steady work, and if not, grab their pack and hit the road again looking for another place. And the skills that they had to develop, and and the bare minimum things they could carry were absolutely amazing. The old stick with the bandana tied to it was sometimes literally all they had. They had to live on what they could forage or what they could buy, or probably often steal, for day-to-day survival. And most of us 1% maybe could survive that for long before they would just be like, yeah, I'm turning myself in. I haven't eaten in, a couple of days, and, most of us don't even know what it's like to go a whole day without eating, let alone 2 or 3 when you start to, stop thinking clearly, you start dehydrating, things like that. Derek says, fun fact for me and Desiree lived in a cabin for 3 weeks on a campground when we were in transition from old house to new house. It was nice and peaceful. I bet. Raven says her grandfather hopped trains like that during the Depression. He worked as a farmhand for food and a place to sleep in the barn. Yeah. We've had it so nice for the last, 50 plus years that most people cannot even imagine what it would take to, just, to be able to get up and walk to the next place, on an empty stomach, eating, bark and berries and, cattails and things like that. Most people wouldn't even know what they can eat. And, right off the bat, that's number one. Okay. You say no, but then what? Can you raid the local grocery store, for more than just food and liquids? Probably not. I mean, unless you're, working at the grocery store and have a van parked out back and you happen to, oh, aliens are here. Okay, well, I'm just going to take my paycheck in these 8 shopping carts and shove it into my van. And if you don't like it, I'm going to use this hockey stick or something from the sporting goods section to fight my way out of the store. You're probably not ready. You're probably not stocked. I know there's some folks out there who do have, nice larders of goods. What?
I lost the sound again.
You can't hear us?
Well, carry on with the show.
Yeah. Just
I'll try to leave and come back. My camera.
No worries. So right off the bat, with any survival situation, you're going to have to take care of your water and your food. Water first, then food, and have something akin to a steady supply of both. Then you can work on the, hey, Grandma, what's happening? No worries. Hang out as long as you like. So, getting your food and your water. Let's say you've got that sort of those needs covered, at least temporarily, and now you want to stick it to the aliens, and find a way to fight back. You're going to have to find their weakness, whatever that may be. Somewhere there's always a chink in someone in literally everyone's armor, and when you know what that is, then you can make a plan. And it may not be easy. It may be completely foolhardy and ridiculous. Can you hear us?
I hate technology.
Well, that's the first thing we'll have to strike back at first, is their technology. I was just talking about, finding their weakness after you've got food and water covered. Let's just assume for, argument's sake, you've got, part of your camp, they're on that duty. They're good at finding the food and the water, and they're taking care of the little ones. Now you got to come up with a plan to fight back. You got to find out their weakness and make a plan. Invariably, it's going to be their technology. That's what's going to have gotten them here. That's what's going to allow them to, get the upper hand. But their technology is going to be reliant on something. Maybe, it's some, crazy, power source, derived from things we don't even know about. Right. Or maybe it's their weaponry. Maybe they have force fields, like in Independence Day, they had to find a way to knock the force fields down and then, hit them with, good old fashioned conventional warfare type, weaponry. And, unless their starships are also made out of, some sort of adamantium or some shit like that, then you got to get in.
Their weakness, Shadow, was that their spaceships all ran on Windows 95. Yeah. And they uploaded a virus into their spaceship and wiped them all out.
Yeah, it was the most ridiculous solution. I would actually believe the country western music before I would believe that. You know,
the problem that we have is that we are limited by our imagination, and our imagination tends to draw us to things that we know and understand and are parallel to. If you look at like the evolution of science fiction, you know, like like um, like Captain Kirk's communicator, or the little diskettes that they use in their computers. We're already way past that in a lot of ways.
yeah,
But in some ways, we're still so far behind. I think that the problem is that we're having in imagining this is what if their technology is something that's completely different than ours? What if their technology is organic? Or what if they, don't breathe, oxygen? Or what if they're based on silica, things that we can't even comprehend. So it
right.
makes a really interesting exercise.
I really like this. The only thing you can do is make it too expensive for them to maintain their occupation. That is the main thing for any army. The cost to maintain it, is it worth it? Well, yes, we, you know, in the prepper community and other communities that are adjacent know how to do things. To make improvised weaponry out of things that would probably if there's a grocery store still standing, most people aren't taking those things. If you know what I mean. I don't want to say too much about that, just because I don't want to incite anybody to go do weird things, because those things are really dangerous, probably more so to us. But I could almost see that we could literally be forced to find the pens of humans and put them down in part of making it uh, too hard to maintain, to make the cost. If you deprive them of what they came here for, then they may just decide to, well, I guess we're gonna have to come back when there's more of them. I saw, I don't know if it was a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits or something like that, where the people were forced to do something that made the aliens not want us anymore, sort of poisoning the well, so to speak, and the well being us. If there aren't enough of us to recontinue the species, they may just pick up and leave. It's like, oh, the humans all self-deleted. I guess there's no real reason to be here other than the cows and the chickens and the squirrels and things like that.
Do we have and I mean Western civilization, do we have the courage or fortitude to do things like that? I mean, we know that worked in certain various Eastern civilizations in the last 50 years.
Unfortunately, I think some of those civilizations now would be the first to volunteer. To be honest, I really do. I think they would see certain parallels with their mythology and buy into the ancient aliens thing wholeheartedly, because if they if the aliens have done any homework whatsoever, they know there's a whole bunch of us that believe some crazy things, and it would be so easy for them to just go, yep, we're the Anunnaki. Yeah. Oh, why we don't look like them? Oh, we've evolved. Oh, okay, cool. Now you have 3 heads and you're lizards. Okay, cool. Fine, you're the Anunnaki. Take us to your leader, kind of thing.
Sure.
But provide let's assume for argument's sake that we don't have to do anything too crazy, and it's just going to be good old fashioned guerrilla warfare and things like that, because the same tactics could apply to other kinds of situations that could arise without aliens intervening and without aliens coming down, resisting whatever oppressors there may be, getting back to improvisation. We saw with certain events over the past couple of years where it often doesn't take advanced weaponry to cause problems, to get the bad guys to retreat. With numbers and with just sometimes just things like rocks and fire, you can cause enough damage that the enemy just can't fight back, unless they're literally willing to, open fire, which they seem to be reluctant to do. You can take over small parts of towns, completely unhindered. I think that knowing that, for example, in the United States, there are if you take almost randomly any three states that do hunting, that have active hunting seasons, there are more registered hunting licenses than there are men in any other standing army on the planet.
That is true, but I've known too many hunters that only hunt from deer stands or duck blinds.
Sure.
Not exactly involved with stalking and fieldcraft. It's
right,
it's real easy to go to some place like Texas where they've got huge tracts of private property, and where they put out corn for the deer, and then when the deer come around, you shoot them from a blind or a stand.
Well, we do have this thing called basic training, and if we were to round up the men and anybody else who wants to volunteer and put them through some training to learn the basics, the bare minimums, you would still have millions of people with trillions of rounds of ammunition, and most powers don't want to eliminate the entire population, whether they be aliens or governors or even the president. They're reluctant to do that, because all that does is steal more people, steal their resolve to stand up and do the right thing. The tighter they hold on to that power, the more systems, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I get the Princess Leia reference, but people also breed really fast. So if they killed everybody except for maybe a couple hundred people, they get their breeding stock back in 30 or 40 years.
Right. And depending on their own longevity and lifespan and things like that, that might be fine. They'll just go back into their sleepy pods and wake up in 50 years and go, oh, look at all the humans, great. Let's take some and put them over here in this area, take some, put them over there, put them in that area, and next thing we can go back to sleep again. And in 150 years, there's millions of these bastards.
Yeah. So, I mean, I never discount man's capacity to kill themselves off. I never discount man's capacity to replace the ones that they've lost. We're really good at both of those things.
Yeah, Brian says another thing we might be blessed with, I think that's what he meant. He said blessed, but with during an invasion is the help from another alien race who are enemies to the ones attacking us. That, that's a possibility, but how do you contact them? And would you believe the aliens that came down and said that? How would you know they're not just the other, the same aliens pretending to be other aliens, a dude pretending to be another dude, and trick us, en masse, right? I mean, that would be easy. It'd be like, oh, hey, let's get our, let's get those old ships from, 100 years ago, paint them up and get some guys in rubber suits and rubber masks and pretend they're new aliens and get all the humans to, join up. And then they come to join up with the other aliens. And next thing they know, they're in somebody's soup.
I similarly, I was actually thinking about waging a counter propaganda war against the aliens, convincing a fifth column, convincing people that might be against the invasion, that that we're the good guys, because that's how the Vietnam War ended, right? We convince other aliens within their other classes, other castes, other you know um, segments of their society that they need to treat us kindly, and then they lose resolve, and then they leave.
Yeah. Real quick, Raven. I'm not sure about the Black Knight, although we've had the technology, the satellite. We've had the technology for decades. We could have just landed on the thing and figured it out by now. So the fact that we haven't makes me think that there's nothing much to it. But that would make for a great movie, wouldn't it? The disclosure to certain individuals that there's this satellite that's been beeping radio signals and blah 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 for hundreds of years, and now we're going to go and check it out. I need a group of Crack and Jack volunteers to go in the space shuttle and breach it and find out what's going on. That'd make a great movie. Hey, I might do that in my top secret campaign.
Just don't make them deep sea oil drillers. That was stupid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'll be right back. Derek says the goal is to take away everyone's gun rights and to cram communities into small places, satellite city, you mean the 15-minute cities that are already rolling out their new plan for new systems, one world government. Yeah, probably. I think what they want, I've said it a million times, is Logan's Run, us living in there, doing, working 8 hours a day, and then, doing the things. And when we get to 30, they just, carousel us and keep us young, dumb, and, ready to be molested however they see fit. Raven says, Brian, that has happened in the past. Indie records call the Vedas are full of stories. Aerial battles. There's all kinds of weird stuff if you go digging into the ancient past. But I got to wonder how much of it was just their version of science fiction before there was a term, or fantasy, or drug induced. There have been many stories of entire towns that have gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they ate the wrong mold or something like that. We never really get the hell back. Wait. You keep disappearing. And Nerd says humans are space orcs. We are. Except we're not the mushroomy kind. People want to blame reptilians for everything negative with all species. There are good and bad facts. Okay. I think you mean good and bad aliens, maybe, but I don't buy it, because if they were good, they would have come down a long time ago and said, hey, here we are, and you need to watch out for these guys because they're the bad guys. Do that whole Prime Directive nonsense. We've never done that. I don't see why anybody else would do that. If they had the power, they would come down and rule over us, like gods, because we would do that, and everything else would do that. Other species do that in the animal kingdoms. It just boils down to their instincts, nature, and logic, because a lot of creatures do run by what's logical for their survival. And Brian says Bo is going to organize a mass protest with signs to march against the alien death rays. Have fun with that. I'm going to stay here. I don't see Bo doing something like that. I picture Bo more likely to hunker down as long as possible, and then when that's no good, find some place out in the middle of nowhere and start from scratch.
I think. Well, I lost my train of thought.
But crafting. Go for it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm thinking.
Okay. Crafting says, Shadow Bo, there's a scenario you're forgetting. Aliens come to Earth specifically because humans are a warring race. They don't want to conquer us. They're just looking for a good fight. Well, no, actually, I did think about that. I think about it all the time. I think it was Tales from the Dark Side, a small talent for war, where John Q. Delancey comes down as the ambassador for the aliens, saying, you're a warring race, blah, blah, blah. You have this small talent for war. And the humans, of course, think that the aliens want us to make peace with one another and stop fighting and sing kumbaya, and the aliens give us a time, like a week, and lo and behold, the humans do it. They sign peace accords all over the place, and everybody's hugging and singing and dismantling the weapons, and then Q Delancey comes back down and says, "You idiots! We need soldiers, not a bunch of peaceniks. You're all terminated."
Yeah, that was one of the Twilight Zone reboot. I think I saw that on YouTube.
I always get those shows mixed up because they're basically the same thing with just a different, introduction and a different, name.
Yeah, I saw that one pretty recently, like in the last month or two.
Really, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it at work one night when I was trying to find something to keep me awake. But I think the problem that we have again is that we just have no comprehension of what an alien would want or do. Would they keep us as pets? Would they keep us as feeding stock? Or maybe like when I think about like what Nerd said, in terms of the animals on the planet, humans are terrifying. We are the apex predator for a reason. We're resilient.
Well, except polar bears.
We can adapt. Yeah, we'll take a polar bear and put him in Brazil, and what happens?
He gets real skinny.
We can adapt to any environment or climate. We've got a lot of redundant organs. I think that aliens would probably be terrified of us
if they haven't evolved along similar lines, with the things you said, like being adaptable and resilient and things like that, but maybe in just completely different ways because of their obviously completely different environment. Yeah, Raven, did you see the Y-Files on it? Not saying that I believe him, but he did make some compelling arguments against that being anything other than just a weird hunk of rock. But like I said, I'd love to see a movie of that or run that as a game. Derek says in 1954 there was a breakthrough with gravity propulsion technology with help from German scientists that were captured during World War II. Too much money made still with the commercial airline industry.
Okay. Now hold on. I'm going to make this point. I love a good conspiracy theory, man. There is nothing that entertains me more. The problem I have is you have to simultaneously believe that the government is both they're evil masterminds and incompetent idiots at the same time to make most conspiracy theories work.
Well, I don't know. I've looked back on the last couple of years, and they've more than filled that quota of those two categories. Shutting off the pipeline.
They're both evil geniuses. Number one. Again, hard to believe they're both evil geniuses and huge idiots.
Well, the evil genius part, I'll give them that for the sake of argument. And, with any gigantic, enormous bureaucracy, you get a bunch of incompetent boobs who, are just there for the paycheck, and willing to take bribes and just, shirk their duties or, take advantage of the situation for themselves and just, not be team players. Nerd says,
I would love to believe that the government has, alien hybrid technology and, diamond shaped airplanes that can stop and hover in midair. But the problem I have is that I think eventually somebody would spill the beans.
Yeah, I was talking about that last night. Every time we get a whistleblower, before the whistle blows that whistle, everybody 10 spaces above that guy knows what's going to happen. Every especially in the old days, you don't hear about the coincidental deaths like you used to. Either they're covered up or they don't happen because I think they're done. Eliminating people. I think they're now sending people out specifically as whistleblowers, as disinformation, to tell us these things, to get us, thinking about this other topic. There's this conspiracy instead of what's actually, going on in front of you. Like any good magician, you're watching his right hand, but it's his left hand that's doing all the work. And we're watching, the flashy news stories when, the more insidious stuff is the stuff you're not going to see even in the newspapers or on TV or the internet. Derek says deals were made, trade humans for technology. Everyone says President Eisenhower. I've talked to his granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower. She has his diaries. She said it was Majestic 12 and other groups. That wouldn't surprise me. If you were put in such a position, you're the, leader of the free world, and the aliens come to your office, in the middle of the night or wherever and say, look, you either give us people or we're going to take them. If you give them to us, we're going to give you this. If you don't, we're just going to take everything. What would you do? Would you sacrifice a few million or a billion to save, 90% of the rest? I think you'd have to. I mean, you could put your foot down and throw the entire world into chaos, or you could, bite the bullet and make the sacrifice. I wouldn't want to be in that position because I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. And it wouldn't go well for anybody. The very next minute I would be on the internet telling everybody what just happened right off the bat. It's like, screw you guys, we're not going with you.
Right. Well, that's the whole that's the utilitarian argument, right? Does the good of the many outweigh the good of the one? Should you do the most good for the most people? And I do think that there are a lot of people in the social sciences and in government that do carry that utilitarian view and mindset. I've never been one for it because it runs contrary to my beliefs, but because I want I want the best for everyone, not for the most people.
Yeah.
And to me, having the good for the most means having the most freedom. But I don't want to get off too far into the weeds on that. And I don't want to talk politics on your show.
I don't mind.
I know.
Derek continues. She did say he had a meeting with 3 different alien races, though 2 had nefarious intentions, and 1 species were here to help us grow, according to her. Raven says she loves Laura Eisenhower. Now, Raven, I don't know much about Laura Eisenhower. I mean, as a matter of fact, this is probably the first I've heard of her, unless it was on like something like Ancient Aliens, and that was a long time ago. I wish Netflix would freaking play something besides the first 2 seasons, which I already have on DVD. If you could send me, a link to something, that would be wonderful. And what else we got here? Nerd says, my nonsense conspiracy that I kind of believe is that humans are a bioweapon sent to terraform the planet. Sorry. I've never heard that. That's interesting.
No, that's the whole Ancient Aliens premise, right? I've
never heard of put that.
We'll take some Cro-Magnon DNA. We'll take some alien DNA. We'll splice them together. We'll make this human-alien hybrid. It's going to be the new human race. We're going to use them to mine the planet, which is terraforming, right? When they get the world all the way we want, we're going to come back, and then we're going to, I don't know, put them down like rabid dogs, or take them to the stars with us. I mean, that just depends on your philosophy regarding aliens.
Right. I mean,
when I hear hoofbeats, I think horses, not zebras. So if somebody has a phenomenal claim, they should have phenomenal evidence.
I agree. That's part of proving something. You need something that's not just opinions and things people say. I need to see something, hold something, that banishes all doubt. And I've seen some crazy shit in the skies, folks, but I can't say what it is until it lands and I'm sitting in the cockpit, can I? Brian says, wait, they see me naked? That's some scary shit. Okay, Brian.
But the FBI has seen that. That's not a big deal. If you've gone on an airplane, the TSA's seen it.
Yeah. Raven says, I researched it and it's a real thing. Check out the work of Billy Carson. He released a documentary on it a couple of months ago. Allegedly, our military has technology 75 to 100 years more advanced than what we were shown. Also, private industries. Oh, well, here's the thing with that, Derek. Back in the 50s and 60s, Kodak actually already had the digital camera. Okay, and that had nothing to do with aliens. Maybe it did, but most companies out there have incredibly more advanced, whatever it is, widgets that they work in, that they create, but they don't let that out onto the market unless they're in danger of losing their edge because some other company is going to release it before them. They've got their own version or things like that. They will keep us with the crappiest technology, knowing full well that they've got 10 times better stuff in their labs, in their research departments and ready to go, at a moment's notice. But they know that they can make the profits that they want, the projected profits that they need, without doing anything like that. And maybe the execs have crazy technology for their personal use that never falls into the wrong hands somehow. And it doesn't need aliens to make that happen. When you could just dictate what gets put on the market and what doesn't, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just keep that to yourself, and use that, whatever that advanced technology is, use it for your own purposes and have the edge over everybody else around you. The effort it would take to cover up most conspiracies is often orders of magnitude more unbelievable than conspiracies themselves. Yeah, that's something I've been delving into lately, nerds. What it takes to keep people quiet, it takes. You would literally need 10 people to one person. 10 people. 10 people, keeping their eyes on this one guy, making sure he never talks. And then who keeps an eye on the guys who are keeping the eye on the guys you're keeping the eye on? You end up having everybody in this involved, at some point, and everybody's, looking over somebody else's shoulder, making sure they're not blabbing,
And historically, it did work with the Manhattan Project, but eventually the Russians still ended up getting the atomic bomb from spies anyway. So even if the government could keep something on the order of the Manhattan Project a secret, eventually it would get leaked to a foreign power, foreign operative, and then it would come out anyway. You can't keep things secret like that forever, because the Russians, the Israelis, the British, we all spy on each other, and they'd have to also be in on the secret. Every country in the world has to be in on the secret, or else eventually it would get out.
Well, I could actually believe that, if we're not talking about millions of people in on the secret, if we're talking about 10,000, even 100,000 people, I think we could keep a secret like that, but only for so long. And I think, now with, especially with the digital camera, on everybody's hip or in their back pocket or whatever, that makes it, just about inevitable that someday someone's going to get, some video, and it's not even going to be like a Bigfoot video or something like that, where, somebody sees something off in the distance. They're going to see a person like a governor or something, literally freaking shaking hands with an alien. And they're going to be able to prove it somehow by triangulation and, coordinates and stuff, tracking their cell phone. Hey, your cell phone was right here when I took this picture. We know that you were here, like the 2000 Mules kind of, investigation. Because, at some point, even death is not going to be a deterrent. When you've got these people that are really old and on their deathbeds and they make these, statements that have been made in the past, that they know this or they know that, and this is the project they worked on, and aliens are real, and all that. Eventually it's going to come out, and I think that's why, over the last, my lifetime, there have been more and more and more TV shows and movies about the existence of alien life. I think we've been slowly conditioned to accept that this may be a thing someday, and if that's the case, then we also need to be prepared that, like Brian says, I think we give alien too much credit. How would they even be able to relate to our human level? Shit, we don't even know how to live together. Right. But I don't think that when you get to a certain point, you don't care about, peace with other species. You care about dominance. Who cares what these inferior things think? We don't, most of us don't care, how our food is treated. And, obviously there are some, but, in the end, I hope they're not, tortured, but in the end, I'm still going to fry up some bacon and eggs every other morning, and that's going to come from one source, and, if I'm told one day that, well, in order for us to keep eating bacon and eggs, we're going to have to do some pretty crappy things to the bacon and the eggs before they're bacon and eggs. I'm going to be like, yeah. And is that going to be a price increase? At the end of the day, it sucks, but I'm not doing it. But I'm sure as hell not going to stop eating bacon and eggs. I'm not going vegan under any circumstance. I would literally starve to death, and you guys don't want to see Shadow starve, do you?
You just told us how the aliens will win. That's how the aliens would win an invasion, because people are unwilling or unable to sacrifice, at least in the West, in order to beat the aliens back. The aliens would say, "Hey, come over here. I got bacon and eggs." There's Shadow going off to join the aliens.
I'm pretty certain that there are these wild pigs that I can get some bacon from. It may not be exactly the same, but I'm already eating the low sodium bacon, so I suppose I can adapt to that. And eggs, there's all kinds of things that make eggs. It doesn't have to be chickens, does it? I suppose lizard eggs, if you cook them up right, probably aren't that bad. I don't know.
People tend to follow the path of least resistance, and the amount
Absolutely.
of sacrifice that it would take to we're not talking like World War II rationing. We're not talking like Great Depression levels of shortages, because remember when people that fought World War II and were already living that World War II rationing, they were already conditioned to it from 10 years of the Great Depression.
Yep.
But to demand that people sacrifice to that level right now, people would never do it.
Yeah, Derek, exactly. That's the way all technology is developed over the years. Think about when you were a kid and things lasted, and now you can't buy anything that won't break down in 3 years, like on the exact date your freaking warranty expires. Things are built in like that, and planned obsolescence has been a thing for a long time. And for these eco terrorists out there, the people that save the planet, well, how about we stop making crap and we start making quality merchandise? Make a hammer that's got that lifetime warranty, because that makes more sense to make a hammer that oh yeah, it'll break, but you just go get another one. We'll give you another one. As long as you live, we'll just keep giving you another one. Well, how about you just make a hammer that doesn't break? I realize that's that's just an example, but I've got refrigerators and other appliances that are still working from 20, 30 years ago, but you buy a new one and they say, well, it's probably only going to last you 3 years. Well, why? Oh, well, because it's it's higher tech. You know what? Screw that. Give me an old-fashioned freaking refrigerator that's going to last 20 years. I don't need to see what's in it without opening the damn door. Okay, I'm not that freaking lazy. What kind of self-indulgent lazy SOB needs a refrigerator that you can just look inside it without opening the door? You're not going to affect the environment by opening the door and looking in. That's nonsense. That's just, technology for the sake of technology. And we don't need that. In the old days, that was our entertainment, was opening the damn refrigerator looking for something to eat, figuring out what I'm going to make, and then close the door and, be done with it, as opposed to, I'm going to look at my refrigerator for my iPhone to see what's in it. Wait till you get home. Jesus, it's ridiculous. Right? Have you seen that? I mean, I do the shopping. I know what's in my refrigerator. I can tell you right now what's in it. It's almost time to go grocery shopping, so damn near nothing. Raven says Tesla said many of his inventions were inspired by aliens he thought were on Mars. He thought a lot of things. He had a, relationship with a pigeon. So just saying, he may have been a genius, but he was also a mad scientist. And I'm emphasizing the word mad because, wow.
Right. We can't, that's a good example. We can't unite as a society, and I'm just talking about just the West. If we can't unite as a society against corporations that make refrigerators that only last 5 years, how are we supposed to resist an alien invasion? If you can't unite the fiscal conservatives with the Greens, the green environmentalists, why can't we just tell the environmentalists, hey, these Samsung refrigerators are clogging up our landfills? And then the environmentalists say, oh, yeah, why don't we make refrigerators that last for 50 years and that are user serviceable so we can just replace parts, so we can throw the small parts in the landfill instead of the whole refrigerator in the landfill? But the environmentalists and the fiscal conservatives can't even get together over that. We can't get together over anything, much less fight off an alien invasion. Sorry, that's just the facts of the matter, right? At least right now. Maybe things will be different in 30 years. Maybe things will be different in 10 years. Maybe things won't be different until we end up like the beginning of WALL-E with skyscrapers made out of garbage.
I've never seen that movie, but
that's one worth watching. For that reason alone.
How you doing, Mac? And he says, speaking of prepping Dems, Heinrich and King introduced a new bill, the Go Safe Act, which will severely limit ownership of all gas-operated semi-auto firearms. That'll make harder to fight aliens. Well, you know what? They can kiss my ass.
This is the thing. I could take every gun away from Americans in a day, 90%, and make you agree with it. All your kids, Jackie goes to school, right? All I gotta do is say, yeah, Jackie could come home as soon as you turn in all your guns. He's already at school. Just send the sheriff's deputies to the school and lock it down. They already do lockdown drills, don't they? Mm-hmm. Just freeze your bank accounts until you turn in your guns. Easy peasy. This is a myth. This is a pipe dream. My thought is that they create this thing and like they keep the Second Amendment to keep you voting for politicians that are 99% against your common interests, but they're pro Second Amendment. The Democrats, Republicans, the only thing that they're different on is the Second Amendment. They're still terrible. We keep voting for them anyway because they're going to let me keep my guns. But it's smoke. It's a puppet show. It's a myth. They're going to keep the Second Amendment fight going for the next 150 years because it keeps us distracted from what's really going on.
Right. Maybe
I could take everybody's guns away tomorrow, and you'd be glad to do it.
Yeah, and it wouldn't stop the crime rate one single iota.
That's not the point. I said the point is I could disarm America in a day, and that's what they'll do when they if they really wanted to disarm us. They don't want to disarm us because they're getting all their agenda without it. They can drive the tax rate up to 90%, but as long as you've got that 870 under your mattress, under your bed, you won't even care. The American Revolution was fought over 5% tax. I'm sorry. I don't. This does not reflect the Bo Paints Minis channel. I'm kind of doing my own thing right now. If you come to my channel, I don't talk politics. I promise.
Now, again, even if they did, real quick, a bunch of noodle-armed individuals were able to impose their will with rocks and bottles, and the guys with guns couldn't do a damn thing. So imagine what some people who had all their toys taken away and had to improvise. You'd end up with more horrific side effects than you can possibly imagine. When you start going down the grocery aisles and thinking what nasty stuff that could be done, we don't want to go there because it's more indiscriminate, and the collateral damage is just about insurmountable.
Let's talk about that's sort of been an underlying theme with every prep show that we've done. People want to own a firearm, but they can't take a jog around the block. If you can't take a jog around the block with a rucksack on, you're no interest to me with a rifle anyway.
Yeah.
So you guys that are, especially the gun bugs, get a bicycle, get out to the gym, join your local MMA gym, hit the bags a little bit. Because you're going to be a lot more use to me if you're not dead from diabetes.
Yeah. Get in shape first, then come talk. The Silence went after human eggs. Could be a thing. I don't remember that. That must be the original.
That would be the reboot.
Really? I don't remember that. Yeah, probably right. Because the shiny silver ones, they just wanted to, exterminate, the whole Dalek thing. Thanks, Derek. I do hope everybody does Hulk smash the like button. Yeah, we still have microwaves. I'm on a brand that still work great from the 80s. I know, right?
Right.
People used to actually want to make things that would last forever for the right reasons, because resources were limited. Time was precious, and why have to do the job 10 times in your lifetime, that being like, say, making a hammer, but you can just make one that will last. You can hand it down to your kid and go, yeah, here's my hammer, it's all yours now, use it wisely, kind of thing. Make me a coffee maker that lasts longer than 2 years, and Raven will be a happy girl. Well, in the old days, my folks had coffee makers that didn't need to be plugged in.
Right.
That's still a thing.
Boil your coffee.
Nice. Shadow, how dare you? Without using my Greta Thunberg voice. Every time you open a fridge door, a tofu baby is triggered and may need therapy. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And now, now you know what keeps me up at night. Yeah, if you only knew. You'd be laughing your ass off, or, give me one of these. Hearing Shadow talk about older refrigerators reminds me of the joke. What was your favorite toy as a child? Dirt, and we were happy. Yeah, absolutely. It won't stop evil, crazy, murderous people. When will they realize that? Well, it's not about that. It's the not crazy, murderous people that they're worried about.
No.
So is this in reference to the recent doc released about the government admitting alien evidence and from a parallel dimension? To be honest, most of this has been brewing for some time, but there was the Tucker Carlson video that dropped yesterday. I think it was. Raven, was it yesterday, or did I just get it from the day before? Where Tucker was talking about UFOs and things like that, and the government releasing information, and they've been promising to do that, damn near most of my life. They're never gonna release anything until they have to, and even then, it's going to be half lies. if not 90% lies with tiny little, kernels of truth scattered. Um, so what are you guys going to do? When something, crazy, bad starts, looming on the horizon, what are you going to do? Do you guys out there have plans? It dropped 2 days ago. Okay, thanks, Raven. Do you guys have a plan of action? Is your family ready? Have you drilled them to what to do when something bad happens? The safest route home, what to do when they get home. Any drills, any preparations? Where's all the emergency equipment? Where's the first aid kit? Do you know how to use it? Can you do something besides put a Band-Aid on a scrape or a boo-boo? Do you guys have any of those things? Do the kids know how to use peroxide or rubbing alcohol or whatever to clean, a wound, are they just going to wrap it up and hope for the best? These are all things we should, start teaching our family, and don't try to make it like a break out the chalkboard and that. I find that when I teach the little guy things, I do it without him realizing that I'm trying to teach him, or sometimes he'll want to know and ask me to show him how to do this or that. I usually just say, hey, I need some help with this, and this is how I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And Raven says, I'm going to make a big ass whiskey sour. That's not a plan. that's kind of the exact opposite of a plan. Are you going to, take the family out on more hikes, walks, things like that? Even if, your family doesn't want to go on the hike and, pack up the bags and stuff, you know what? Take them on a busy ass day of shopping, walking around, 15 different stores, go to the mall, something like that. There's malls still, right? I don't know. I haven't been to one in years, but I do that on the weekends. I drag the monkey along with me to go do, our either weekly or by every 2 weeks shopping, and just drag him along. He's getting the exercise of walking, and pushing the cart, or things like that. Just, if you have to start small like that, great. But if your family's into the hiking or being outdoors or, going for, walks in the neighborhood, you got to start somewhere. And like Bo said, if you can't, jog around the block with a 50-pound, ruck, you're just going to be a victim when, everybody else around you is stampeding, whether it's, a Black Friday thing or, running from a fire or any social unrest kind of thing, a riot, and you get caught in the middle of it. I think the first step for everybody is getting back in shape, because everywhere I look out there in Gamerland, I see a bunch of dwarves.
Yeah, and wasn't there a recent study about how gamers are more susceptible to things like diabetes, metabolic syndrome? And as I get older, I find myself having to work out a lot harder to maintain. So, take that into account and get your physicals, guys. Get your physical, get your colonoscopy, get all that stuff done, because you're not any good to us if you're dead.
That's awful, Crafton. He says, I wish I could get my family to do that, but every single one of them is beyond convinced a true emergency will never happen. I would say get another family, but since you can't do that, do it yourself. Show them. And once you get to a certain point, then go, well, since you guys aren't going to do the heavy lifting or anything whatsoever, since I'm the breadwinner, I'm gonna get a storage unit and shit's going in it. Like all the food that you guys can't live without, well, that's where I'm putting it. And in order to get you guys to understand, we're gonna have to start doing things differently. If you're in charge of that sort of situation, then you make those decisions and explain to them why you're making those decisions, because forewarned is forearmed. And if you are prepared for an emergency and you never need those things, you can always fall back on them just to save some money. I've gone into this before. If you've got huge stockpiles of food, well, you know what? We're not going grocery shopping this month. We're just going to use what's there. And guess what? With the money that we don't spend by doing that, we're going to go to Disneyland or something. I don't know. You can come up with something. Maybe we're going to buy a new TV, or we're going to buy something else, or go somewhere on vacation because we didn't have to spend all that money because we've been saving it up. Now, when we get back from that vacation, we'll start filling it back up.
Right. COVID-19 was a dry run. Just get on YouTube and watch the videos of people like raiding Sam's Club for toilet paper, just pulling out all the toilet paper in the store. And now extrapolate that. Think next time it's not toilet paper. Next time it's insulin. Next time it's I don't know, hamburger. The next time it's something that you like, and make sure you get enough of it now so that you're not in that situation.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever it is that you like, and then whatever it is you can't live without, lay up 3 months of it.
Yep. You should have a year if you can. If you can't, get that storage unit, put everything in plastic totes, because I guarantee you most people aren't going to be going to the storage units during, shortages and famines and things like that. They're going to, they're going to abandon those things, those places. And, as long as you can get in and out, and as long as nobody knows what you're getting in and out, if everything's in plastic totes or cardboard boxes marked family photos and things like that nobody ever wants to, bother with, they'll be like, oh, okay, it's just moving, little do they know that it's full of canned foods and dehydrated foods and, maybe bottles of water and things like that, disguise it. Don't let people know what you're, taking or moving. And, trust me, in the long run, if you 3 cases of whiskey and cake, the cake's not going to last very long, Raven. You might want to
get the cake and put it in number 10 cans with oxygen absorbers,
or just make buy the cake mix, just make sure you have some eggs and vegetable oil and make your own damn cake. You can do it even in a microwave.
Yeah, if you have again, the same thing with the cake mixes. If you have cake mixes, you can put them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers to help prolong the life, because that's what really kills food is air and bugs.
Yeah, Twinkies don't really last as long as we think they're, Mac. I'm sure you already know that. They last a couple of months and then they get rock hard.
Yeah, again, they've got to be kept in an airtight container.
50-year shelf life. I wish. I can't even remember the last time I actually had a Twinkie, because them things are they're the devil.
Yeah, I can't have that stuff anymore, but you know that.
Yeah.
I've got I work out, and when the doctor comes to you and says, yeah, I'm 200 pounds and I work out quite a bit, the doctor says, yeah, no, you've got problems. Well, that's getting, like Brian says, getting old is not for sissies.
Yep.
So
Brian, I'm not even going to read that. I'm not even going to highlight that one. Mylar, bay leaves, oxygen absorbers, put in food grade buckets with screw on lids. Yep. Or even if you use the Home Depot painter buckets with the lids, just fill that bucket and then put another filled bucket on top of it, and on top of it until you get to the last one, and then maybe you just seal it with a hot glue gun.
Yeah, I've done a lot of. Maybe I'll do a video on how to seal food in Mylar bags. A few years ago, there was a rice crop failure in Asia that raised the price of rice globally. And right away, and I do eat quite a bit of rice. So what I did was I went and I bought 4 or 5 50-pound bags of rice and a bunch of the 3 or 5 mil Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. and I could put maybe 4 or 5 pounds of rice in each bag, and then I put the bags in the Homer buckets and sealed the lids. You pound the lid down with a hammer, mostly to keep another layer for things like rodents and bugs, so everything's double sealed. Just make sure that your buckets are not on concrete, and make sure they're not any place where they can get wet. And you're probably fine for 30, 40, 50 years. So what I do to seal my bags is I use a hot clothes iron on the highest setting with no steam. And what I do is I get the bag mostly full. I put in my oxygen absorber, and then I place the edge of the bag on a steel level, a 3-foot steel carpenter's level. I put it down on the table. I put the bag, the lip of the bag over it, and I iron it down, and that will seal the bag. Just make sure there's no steam and it's on the highest level. I've done that many times. Maybe I'll do a video on it. There are a lot of places where you can get the bags and oxygen absorbers. So
basically melting it shut.
And then when the oxygen absorber works, if you have, say, pinto beans in your bag, when the O2 absorber works, you should be able to basically see the texture of the bean through the bag, because the oxygen absorber has made it completely tight and just taken all of the air out of the bag.
Kind of like that coffee that comes in the yellow brick. I forget the brand name.
Yeah.
Where you can literally.
It's the same thing. It's vacuum sealed. There are commercial vacuum sealers available. They do tend to be not necessarily expensive, but they have a higher learning curve.
Thanks, man.
So I would recommend, again, food that you like. If you're not used to eating beans and rice, don't buy beans and rice, because it's just going to go to waste. I've stored hard red winter wheat and hard white winter wheat. I like grinding my own flour because it makes just the best bread. There are things that you can do like that if you're interested in storing staples. You need to get away.
The hell you say. I've got 12 pounds of tobacco on hand almost at any time. That's a year. Then I'll just take the packs of smokes off the dead rooskies, as I Wolverine them.
Yeah. No. The thing that we really need to do, and I'm going to do a video on this later today, whether we're gaming or talking about prepping, is we have to get out of this echo chamber. We have to start reaching out to people that are not in our community, so that we can make videos about these things all day long, but all we're doing is liking each other's videos. I like your video, you like Crafting Gamers video, he likes DM James video, he likes Hongo's video, he likes Legion of Myths video, and it's just a circle. We got to find a way to expand outside that. He likes Brian's video, he likes Mini Warmutt's video, but there aren't enough people that are outside of our circle that we're reaching.
Okay, Derek, real quick on this one, 6 cases of water, that's going to go in depending on how many people, faster than you think, because you're going to be working harder than you've ever worked before, and you're going to feel dehydrated. You're going to want to drink that. Also, I recommend, as much as you get the water, grab, cans of like fruit juice and then water it down.
You've got 40 gallons of water in your water heater, and you've got another 2 gallons of water in the top of your toilet.
And to what Bo was saying earlier, yes, build a local tribe. Put that flyer on your community mailbox or lamppost, and schedule a community watch meeting. And then find out who in your neighborhood you can trust, and who's who gives a rat's, and who thinks we don't need it. take note of who doesn't show up, you know, and you know, at the very least, you know who's around you that can help and who won't help. And the people who won't help, well, they're SOL, right? And you know, I do the same, Brian. I travel in pretty diverse circles, and everyone still thinks, well, they know you're weird. They don't think, they know. It's you know, plain as a beard on your face, but that's a good thing. You know, find out, you know, how far, you know, from your home, how far out can you, you know, communicate with your neighbors. We used to do that all the time. We used to have block parties and things like that, and even before the thing happened, there was none of that in you know, at least where I live. People minded their own business and stayed that way. Well, we now need to, you know, start minding each other's business, at least, you know, on a cursory level, so that, you know, we know who we can trust. You know, last thing you want is you know, 60 of your neighbors at your door because they know you're the only prepper. Well, if you got, you know, half a dozen preppers, you know, they got 6 different houses to get, you know, turned down from instead of just yours. Because when, you know, that kind of thing happens, it's going to be real hard to do that. You know, people think our walls are safe. Our walls are crap. You know, I always wonder about that in movies like that. You know, someone gets locked in a room and the door's locked and they assume they're doomed. Have you ever kicked a hole in drywall? You know how easy that is? You know, okay, you kicked a hole through the drywall. Well, there's studs in the way. Well, you know what? There are some of those studs you can kick those out as well if you know, take the time to, you know, hit it right and properly, and, you know, not damage yourself in trying to do so. But, you know, and then if you can take out one of those studs, you've now got a stud you can use to pry and wedge other studs out of the way, and next thing you know, you've got a hole out of that room or what have you. It just blows my mind how people can be mentally trapped without being actually physically trapped. So don't let yourself get into that situation. You know, go check out a construction site as it's being, you know, as a building's being erected, and see how flimsy and weak those are. They're the bare minimum to keep the building standing. You know, they won't stand up to any sort of impact whatsoever.
Right.
Here's what we need to here's what we need to do. When the world goes to hell, we all meet in Texas at Bruce or Omen's house. Yep, because they'll be having a hell of a barbecue, and we just wait till they're drunk and then just, you know, go rifle through their drawers, right? We'll rebuild as the world should be. Gamer perspective. Studs are usually 18 to 24 inches apart. You can get between them. Well, that may be easy for you to say, but some of us might be a little wider than 18 to 24 inches. The last thing you want to do is be stuck in between two, you know, in between a wall, you know. Then they're just going to kick the crap out of you because you're stuck. Derek, if there was a global meltdown, where would you take your family for safety and survival? Well, right off the bat, I would stick it out here as long as possible, you know, making it look like I left and then still staying here and, you know, waiting for everybody else to leave, you know, have the car parked out in front with, you know, boxes and things, you know, strapped to the outside. Looks like we're just packing, you know, oh, we're not done, ready to leave, you know, oh, well, I guess it looks like we'll be the last ones out. And then as the last car drives out, we start going door to door and seeing what they left behind, because I guarantee you, you know, you'd be surprised what people will leave behind. You know, if such a thing happens, they're not going to be taking all their canned foods. They're going to be leaving the cranberries and the pumpkin pie filling and the things like that. It'll still be there, you know. Like Bo said, you know, every water heater that's still standing is going to have 40 gallons. 40 gallons will last my family, just for drinking purposes, about a week, I think. Maybe even 2. I'd have to check, because, you know, we have Yeah, we have about 50 gallons in 5-gallon bottles that we regularly refill. So, and we refill those about every 2 weeks. So every house standing, uh, obviously I'm gonna, filter it and boil it, etc. But every house that's empty is a week of being able to at least, drink. Maybe not bathing so much, but there's other ways around that as well.
All right. This is for Derek. Derek, you have to know where you're going now. Where will you go? And it has to be someplace that's secured, whether and private property, whether you own it, lease it, or rent it. It must be secured. Can't be government land, not BLM land, not Forest Service land, not National Park land. Okay, so here's what you do. Find a farmer out in the middle of nowhere and say, hey, can I rent some space to put my travel trailer on? I can't keep it at my house. So you got your travel trailer set up with all your stuff, and it's on that farmer's back 40. You pay cash. Hey, how much would it cost to rent it for a year? How about 2 or 3 years? Can I pay you cash in advance? Farmers are always poor, cash poor. Land rich, cash poor. If you can't afford your own place, and I recommend that you do, now remember, if you don't leave early, everybody and their little yellow dog is going to try to get out of town at the same time. And that road, yes, that road, that secret back road you think you know about, it's going to be a parking lot. A parking lot. You've got to leave about a day early. So again, like I said last time, watch the news, look for the signs. When you see the signs, call your boss and say, hey, look, I'm going on vacation for a week. And get the heck out of town. If nothing happens, you're back in a week. If something does happen, you beat the rush.
Nerd says one of the main concepts of SEER school teaches is to actually observe your surroundings. You're in a cage is useless. Got to look at the thickness and materials of the cage, the hinges, the gaps. Does the bottom have gaps you can put your hands through and hop across the floor? Then she goes on to say it's overrated. You run around a cold mountain for 2 weeks, then get yelled at and fake Russian. Now, that doesn't sound fun. Doesn't sound, miserable, but, I've been through some pretty tough situations. Elle says, I found one live, but still have no clue what this is still. Well, you can always rewind it, Elle, and watch it for later. I did think of you and post the fact that I was going to do this an hour and a half, 2 hours early so that, folks would be here. And I really appreciate everybody who's been here for the whole show. What it's about, Elle, we were talking about, what can you do should there be an alien invasion? And, Derek. If global disaster strikes, how important would your pets be? And Max says, Derek, dogs make a fine meal. Not my dog, because I feed him, steady diet of nothing but hot dogs and table scraps, and he's all of 35 pounds, and most of it stink. So I'm not going to be, eating my dog. I will use him to help me find other maybe other dogs to eat, but not this one. He's too mangy. Besides, my boy would kill me if I, took out the axe to him. But Al, what this was about is, should there be some sort of, alien invasion? What could or would you be able to do? Where would you go? How would you, make the best of things? Would you stand up and fight and be the resistance fighter to, to drive the aliens back into their motherships and, get the hell out of our galaxy, or at least solar system? Hell, even out of our orbit would be fine for me. There's plenty of other planets, we can all get along, leave us a couple of blasters and the plans to make, transporters. And I think everybody would be pretty happy with just that. But no, the lizard people have other plans. If they in fact are lizard people instead of grays or whatever your favorite flavor of alien is, what would you do? if such a thing would happen. Trying to espouse the traditional principles of survival and prepping and things like that, being ready. And like I said, you can always rewind it or play it at double speed or whatever you're into. Nerd says again, but Sear is really training you to be aware. They leave everything you need to escape if you pay attention, like a bobby pin next to the cigarettes. The nice guy interrogator offers. Yeah, but does the average person actually know how to use a bobby pin? You actually have to break it in half and turn it into two separate pieces, like a traditional set of lock picks. If you don't know how to use lock picks, you're not going to know how to use a bobby pin. You're just going to fiddle around until you get it jammed in there. Then you can't get it out, and then you're in a worse predicament. Gotta keep the will to live. If a pet helps with that, it's a win. Absolutely. And like a boy and his dog, your dog will help you find food. Just let him go. Keep a close eye on him, and when he grabs something and wants to eat it, well, you tell him no, and then you cook it up, and then you split it with him. Elle says, I woke up late today, missed the start, didn't hear the sound to notify me. Sorry. So prepping as a PC, more or less, whatever you're prepping for, it's not a bad thing. Even something as kooky as an alien invasion, which, as we've discussed, is probably, a damn near extinction level event. And there's not a lot you can do, but, if you're willing to, live rough, you can get the hell out of Dodge and find a place to at least, spend the remainder of your days, in some forest or desert or, mountainous region. And if you know how to survive, then, at least you are alive, and any day above dirt is a good day. We're talking about kicking the snot out of aliens on a cold mountain, eating dogs, raiding Bruce's house for a coffee maker that works. Nice. Yes. All of that and more. And for the low price of $9.99, you can subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I ain't doing that shit. I don't know why people do that. You guys could be watching anything for free, and the fact that you've chosen to come over here and listen to us ramble for going on an hour and a half is worth all the $9.99s you can throw at me. You guys got to keep it weird. I got to get my daily exercise in before it starts raining. No rucksacks yet, but I'm working on it. Hey, Brian, that's a start. That's more than 99% of the folks out there are actually doing. And as long as you've got that willpower to do that sort of thing, you're a step ahead of, the other 99%. So cheers, bud. I will see you tonight because I am doing another live stream because I'm crazy like that. I'll be doing the Thursday night paint and chill where we'll talk about, less depressing topics. Probably Wizards of the Coast or something like that, or what's on your table? What kind of crap is on your table? I'm actually almost done with 100 minis over the course of about a month and a half, and I don't know how that happened. So I got you guys, I guess, to thanks for that. So have a good one. Why would Bruce have a coffee maker? He should have a home brewery as much as he drinks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has a coffee maker. It's probably from, like years ago, but now he's got that, all those dwarves working, stomping, coffee beans into coffee or something. I don't know. And Max says he's counting on having a working still. That's great. If you like to imbibe or you just need, alcohol for other purposes, not a bad idea.
It is the easiest way to store grain.
He says, I kept thinking these were shit hit the fan. What gaming products go in your bug out bag? That was the very first one we ever did. We actually did that in the very first prepper video way back about a year ago. What would you put in your bug out bag? Because having an RPG and some dice, pencils, and paper will while away those boring ass hours that your family is, forced to suffer through, especially, when they've never gamed before. And it's like, oh, well, I'm bored. Well, did you do all your chores? Yeah, everything's done. Well, guess what? We're going to sit around the campfire. We're going to play some D&D tonight, or some Gamma World, or whatever your favorite, old school game is. And, while you're playing the games with your family or whoever's there, you can kind of sneak in prepper techniques. You can teach them how to do stuff. And then the next day it's like, hey, we did this in the game. Why don't we, go collect some sticks for kindling, or whatever wood we can, or why don't we look and see if there's any pine trees and see if we can get some of that, interior white bark and give it a try. See what it tastes like. We're going to make dinner, let's, boil it up or fry it up or whatever, however the hell you cook that shit. But I know that you can eat it, and I know that it'll keep you alive. So let's try it. If it tastes like ass, well, we'll look for something else tomorrow.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever paid and beat Ghouls and Goblins regular Nintendo? What an off-the-wall question.
No, that game's impossible.
I've never even played it, but thank you for blowing Bo's mind. Yeah. L says, Mac, for me, it would be a pencil I drilled out of lighter knot and paper bags. I don't know what that is in reference to. I never owned the books. We had them shared. The GM just kept it all since he ran the game.
Shame on you.
And also as a shadow, that first episode is probably what confused me on the series. Glad I understand it now. Yeah. All of these principles can be used in gaming as well as in real life. And, it'll help your characters and your players, develop, in-game skills and, real life skills that they can, use in both situations. I can't tell you how many gamers I played with that didn't know, how easy or how difficult it is to start a fire depending on, the situation. They just figure, I just make a fire, well, you're in the desert. Well, I just make a fire with what? If you don't have, trees around or something else that, you can light on fire, you might light the kindling in your tinderbox, but it doesn't light anything else. So you're SOL after, a minute, if you're lucky, of, then what? Snake rattle and roll, I beat it, but was extremely difficult. Nerd says, play it on an emulator, use save states, and it's winnable. Okay.
Yeah, well, Nintendo didn't have the NES game didn't have save states. I don't think so. Might have had a few continues, but I don't know about that either. That game was impossible.
And Al says pencil and paper both should hit the fan. Gaming and survival supplies, since I didn't have books or dice. Well, do you have them now? Are you capable of going somewhere and hunkering down, or traveling to the next safer location or a different location because you don't want to be anywhere one space for too long? Do you have a place to go? Do you have the ability to ruck or drag your supplies behind you, maybe even in a wagon if you have to? And if so, somebody's job is to cover up the tracks of the wagon with a couple of branches, that sort of thing, and leaves. Max says also learn to make and use a bow drill. It's a bit of work, but a life-saving skill to have. Absolutely. Oh my God. When it comes to making fire, there are literally, hundreds, if not thousands of different ways to make a fire. Practice the one that you're most comfortable with. Mine is using a big lighter, but that's me. I do have all the tools and skills to make a fire, provided I have, some of the bare minimums. But if you've got nothing, you're going to need to find another way to stay warm. I really like those Mylar blankets for making a shelter or keeping warm. But at the same time, they're highly visible, so you need to find the ones that are camouflage or something like that on the other side. And man, they're cheap and so effective and so useful. I would recommend having like 20 of them, somewhere, in your prepper gear, so that you can cut them apart and make, other things like, sock liners and things like that, or, articles of clothing or wraps to keep your extremities and your core, from freezing if you live in that sort of a location. Derek says, I'm an old school gamer. The new stuff, L says,
I'm going
PDFs
to make a video about that today. I'm making a video about that and getting out of our about current games and getting out of our comfort zone, our echo chamber.
Yeah, I figured that was what L was going to say. PDF on the phone. Guess I need a solar charger and someone to push a gurney with me in it. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. Hopefully, these things will never come to pass. But if they do, good luck to each and every one of you that wherever you are. Most of you guys are actually pretty far away from me. And, should something like this happen, just look for the smoke signals on the horizon. That'll be me puffing away, not lighting a smoke signal fire. So you're going to need a telescope at the very least, one that can bend around the curvature of the earth. I was talking to Raven last night, I think it was, about elves, and the way people hate them and whatnot. And I'm like, nobody realizes that elves can literally see over the curvature of the earth. They can see like 50, 100 miles, Legolas in Lord of the Rings. I'm like, that's some serious magic. Those eye beams are freaking, that's pretty intense if you think about it, because your vision is a straight line, but, the earth curves, even Middle Earth is a globe. So somehow his eye beams are moving around. It's just wild stuff. I guess Tolkien didn't understand that back then. I don't think many people did.
Maybe Middle Earth is flat.
Even if it is, being able to see as far as he could was insane. That alone would be worth playing an elf for. Derek, ham radio, a must for survival. Yeah, if you've got one that's portable and it has a power source. Otherwise, it's just a hunk of junk, isn't it?
No, you need a tri-band, 60 centimeter, 6 meter, 2 meter. 2 meters got an effective range of about 30, 40 miles, depending on the weather, and a 2 meter ham radio with a car battery, essentially, or your batteries, 12 batteries wired in series. You've got a good and a folding J-pole antenna made from copper tubing and bungee cords. I made one once and I took it on a camp out and I lost it in the camp out. I just forgot to pack it up with me. I need to make another one. But the problem is that copper has gotten so expensive lately that I haven't really found the motivation to make one. But you can find, if you look at the folding J-pole antenna, you can find the plans for them on online. Because usually ham radios come in 3 varieties. They've got like the handheld. They also have a mobile one. Mobile's like the size of a CB radio, and they've got like 10 times the power as the handheld. So that's usually what I recommend is a mobile on for your base camp. But that's a whole different animal. That's a whole. Find your amateur radio group in your town, the Aries and Races groups. Those guys are often into prepping, and they love to teach. Man, they love to teach. They'll teach you how to build your own radio if you want. I'm not even kidding.
Nerd says, I think if people stopped thinking being old school was a goal in itself, they would enjoy much more variety of games. Nerds, for me, I've literally got a collection of between 300 and 500 different games, some of which I've never played. And once I get through them, I'll think about looking into new games. But, when the companies that make the games don't want people that look like me playing their games, they're not going to get my money or my time. Now, I know there are some games that have come out recently that I would like to try, but when they come out and they're $75 to 100 plus to get into the game, a game that I would then have to proselytize to get a group to play and then convince them into either sharing, photocopying, or buying copies of the books. It makes it really a hard sell. It's easier for us old schoolers to find one another and reminisce over a good old fashioned game of Boot Hill or something like that than it is to find a group of people that want to play the next new shiny game that might just be a game I've already got in my collection with the serial numbers filed off. I'm always willing to look into and do a little bit of research on a suggested game by somebody, but it's got to be more than the rules. I'm not a stickler for system. I'm more of a setting guy. If the setting is awesome, I'm more inclined to do so. But if I see a setting in a game, out there on the shelves somewhere, I can then look at even if it's just the cover art, the cover art, and go, oh, that's what they want me to think about the game. Well, I can go home and do that with whatever games I've got here. I can incorporate all the cool stuff from a new shiny genre and make it my own. I'd be doing the same thing with buying their product, just using their system, which, let's face it, sometimes that's a hit or miss thing. There may be good things about a system, but bad things, even if someone came out with the scientifically proven best system ever, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to find flaws with it or things they don't like just because of their own personal style. So I'm just like, yeah, for me these days, it's a pretty hard sell on any new games. Now, L says, Max, split the pencil, use the cables on battery and pencil to overheat the pencil lead and burn the pencil wood. I've seen that done. And of course, Mac replies, witchcraft.
All right.
Short circuit should hurt the battery.
Yeah.
But I'll have to try it. Maybe Middle Earth is just a bigger planet, so the curvature is lower. That could be the case, but I kind of get the impression it's more like the opposite. Middle Earth didn't seem to be very big, with the maps we were given. Derek says, I just miss having friends over playing games. Now everything is all about look at me. It's kind of always been like that, though. I mean, let's face it. I can't tell you how many times people, would get into conversations. Look how awesome my character is. Blah blah blah. And then once people started, building characters as opposed to just creating them, that became a whole thing unto itself that I never got into. Max says, everybody just get a good CB radio with good whip antenna. We don't care what the folks 2 states over are doing. They're on their own. Yeah, true. My old man used to have a CB radio shop, and I need to get a new one, or at least, a really good radio because, yeah, I mean, if you can get, like the weather and the news, if there is such a thing during a situation like this, that's great. But, you're more than likely in the alien invasion scenario, you're not going to know who you're talking to. And you really want to take the chance that you're walking into an ambush, whether it be aliens pretending to be humans or whether it's, warlords just looking for more suckers and their stuff to take. And, last thing I want is to, trying to fight off an alien invasion and get stuck, working for some warlord instead, slave laboring it out, when I was just trying to mind my own damn P's and Q's.
Right.
All tires are weapon, a good limb, and some tire rubber, and you've got any size slingshot or spear thrower. Yeah. I think you mean like inner tubes, not the actual tires.
The new ones aren't stretchy. The days of the red rubber inner tubes, unfortunately, are long past. Synthetic rubber doesn't have the stretch that natural rubber does. But if you've got a source for natural rubber, you let me know because I'm always interested in. We used to have this red rubber tape that they use to repair like big water pipes. And if there was a leak, you could stretch the tape over it in an emergency. When I worked construction years ago, and if you got a sec, because it was red rubber, and if you got about 3 feet of that, oh yeah, you could make a spear gun. That's yeah. If you've got a source for natural rubber, let me know in the comments.
Yeah, surgical tubing is what I see used on most of them, but to be honest, almost any and every kind of rubber I've ever come across deteriorates rapidly, especially when it's exposed to the elements on a regular basis. You can use bicycle inner tubes in a pinch, but you have to use a smaller piece than you think and stretch the hell out of it a lot before actually using it as a slingshot type of thing. You'd be better off learning how to use an old-fashioned, leather thong type, sling, if you're going to go that route. And if you're going to go that route, you're probably in some dire straits. You're probably, just as good throwing rocks and sticks, because if you have to, stand up and do the twirl thing, you're going to get shot. You're just standing there waving your arms around. Who wouldn't shoot you, right?
Right.
Oh, the kind of junkies use in the movie. Yes, the yellow ones. Yes.
Oh yeah, those are latex, but they do deteriorate.
Bungee cords are probably a better idea, but I mean, if you're going to go that route, all you need is some PVC pipe, some tape, and one of those fiberglass poles that they use for, they stick in the ground to put the little flags on. You put some fiberglass, those poles inside the PVC pipe, and get some paracord, and just make a long bow or a short bow. I've made them. I've seen them. They're pretty decent. You can, but then again, I mean, if you're shooting at aliens, they probably got reflect and, all kinds of power armor and crap like that. What you're going to need is more like sticky bombs and spray foam and things to obscure them. So then you can just knock them over, or run upstairs, because they probably won't be able to chase you upstairs, if they're Daleks or something like that. You're going to want to knock them down and then just beat them with a rock, or you can go all 2001 on them and, use a bone and just, beat their helmets in.
That's a different. I've never been a big fan of expedient weapons, because I never want to get myself caught in a situation where I have to use expedient weapons.
What do you mean by expedient?
Like something you have to make yourself,
Oh, yeah.
So like make a spear out of a stick, or go all Arnold Schwarzenegger and make a recurve bow out of reeds, something like that.
Yeah,
willow branches.
Yeah, that does take
fantastic for me.
Well, you can make a PVC pipe in, about a half hour if you know what you're doing, and if you're trying to arm, your ragtag force, that may be what you got to do. You're going to want to save your rounds for, the big battle at the end of the movie, as opposed to, everyday shooting, because, even at 22, I can, in my neck of the woods, I can hear a 22 a couple of miles away, at night. And, let's face it, at nighttime is probably when you're going to be doing your commando raids and stuff on the alien installation, Mac, everybody should have one of those crank radio flashlight things. Those things are amazing. If you get a good one. And what was it I said yesterday? Cheap, durable, lightweight, pick two. Is that it?
Yeah.
Take cheap out of the equation. Usually, if it's going to be of any quality, it's not going to be cheap.
Does C-Crane still make those? C-Crane used to make the really good versions of those. I don't know if they're even around anymore.
Yeah, I haven't looked. I have one that still works, but having Red rubber is gone. Yes. Crap. Yeah. I picked up one years ago, and it still works. But having one in every vehicle, having one or two or three at home, so that if you want to trade one or give one to somebody else, so that they can monitor the radio for news or things like that. Definitely get one that's got the ability to have some sort of earbuds or whatever. You don't want everybody else listening and hearing the fact that you've got a radio, and that way you can keep the bad news away from the people more susceptible to panic. For about 75, 125 bucks, you can buy a good recurve bow from Sporting Goods Store. I also have one of those. I got one on sale plus extra cord, soft leather quiver, and a dozen arrows for about 160 bucks. Once the bullets run out, I'm going old school, wink to nerds. Potassium, sugar and water, saying anymore, and YouTube won't like it. Yeah. Research stump remover. Yeah, I know. That's like we were saying earlier, some of the most dangerous things out there are, in the cleaning aisle. Walmart has a good chef knife for 98 cents, fillet and paring too. And Max says, for the dogs? Yeah, no. And if you're cooking up dog, don't tell me. And it better not be my chewer, because next thing you know, you'll be in the stew and I'll be feeding it to Chewy or whatever new dog I adopt because you fed me my own damn dog. The hell. Now cats, that's a different story. Just teasing Raven. Although she'll never starve. So, long pig, yeah, nope. That's shame on you. Derek says meow. I think we've pissed off Raven enough for one day. She loves her cats. Technically, pound for pound. I don't want to know how you know that. Yes, we are digressing. Actually, what we're doing is getting ready to wrap it up because we've been doing this for 2 hours, which is usually about the length we can stomach this. See what I did there? I hope you guys got something out of this. Yeah, Elle says you got to be full to fight the aliens. Does anyone watch wrestling? I don't know what. I don't know what any of that means, Derek. But yeah, thanks guys for playing along today. We're gonna do the next one on either the AI takeover or the like the robot dogs, Terminators, that sort of thing that's coming down the pike. There are a lot of robot designers out there thinking that they're going to be the robot overlords over society, and I've already given some thought how to deal with those sorts of things, and they're probably not what you think. You definitely won't be needing your AR or something like that to deal with them. There's so much more fun, interesting ways to take out robots, not just running up a flight of stairs. But we'll take on one of the two next week. If you guys want to put in the chat, or I should say the comment section later, on which topic you'd like us to discuss before the end of the year. And then next year, we're going to go back to the beginning again and start with a little bit more structure on your basic survival and prep techniques for beginners out there, because it's nice that a lot of you guys already have a really good grasp on the situation. That's why I thought we would go into the hypotheticals, the alien invasion, the zombie apocalypse, because by playing those mental war games out, you can think of new scenarios that you may be stuck in that you might not have thought of before, and you don't want to have to try to improvise, without giving it, any forethought with these little exercises, we can, really play around. And they're always useful in, if you're playing Twilight 2000 or Gamma World, or The Walking Dead, those kinds of games. You can get some ideas for that sort of thing, and mix the two interests into whatever best suits your individual life situation.
Right.
So you got anything you want to leave us with, Bo, before we head out? I'm getting kind of hungry. Lunch.
Yeah, it's about lunchtime. Stay smart. Be realistic. Start small. Start low. Go slow. Don't do anything dumb like spend your kids' college fund on Mountain House, number 10 cans. I think that you can do it. Think about what your real life needs are right now. What's your most common disaster? If you're worried about losing your job, then start saving that now. If you're worried about your car breaking down, again, get ready for it now. And then we'll catch you here, next time.
Which will be sometime in December. We're going to hit one, maybe two more of the hypotheticals before we go into the back to basics in January. I want to get a couple other things out of the way before we do that, because I know your whole schedule may be turned upside down in a couple of weeks after the holidays.
Starting
and
a
I
job.
definitely want you to be part of it. And we will have some other folks on as well. I'm going to get Grim back here. And Mac, you're always welcome. I know you know a crap ton. And by the way, Bo, you're going to have a new subscriber by the name of Derek. He was asking about your info. And yeah, let's if you guys aren't subscribed to Bo Paints Minis, what the heck are you doing with your life? Get over there, give him a sub, check out his stuff. I wouldn't have him here if he wasn't, a top-notch stand-up guy. In addition to being my dungeon master, on Friday nights. Raymond says, as long as she has whiskey and cake, she'll be peachy. Bo finally hit 100 subs. Awesome. Congrats, brother. You really should be way higher than that, though.
I need a new camera and I need a new microphone. So I'm going to start an OnlyFans to make some money to get a microphone and a camera.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's just pictures of my feet. Just my feet.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I just knew you were going to say that. That's just so wrong on so many levels. But in addition to our good friend Bo, there's some other guys out there I want to shout out who have channels. The first being, of course, Brian from Weird World War II. That's Weird WWII. Go sub to him. I want to see him at 500 by game time, which he's also in tomorrow night. Also, Squirrel Hermit needs some more, some more love. He's got a great channel, one of the funniest guys out there. And who was the other one? Yeah, I think that's it. If I come up with more people to show for, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, guys, have a great weekend. Don't stress out too much about the things that are coming down the road. But at least, if you're prepared, you've done all you can do, and then you can just, wait till you need to use those skills and that mindset, and enjoy the holidays, because they're upon us once again. I want to wish you guys all a happy holidays as I go make some lunch. Love you guys. Take care, and as always, happy trails.
Happy trails.